How are you doing? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the world options trading course. And what we're going to really quickly talk about is a timely story. We're going to talk about why Trump's social media ban has certain online personalities, in quotes, worried about their business. And what we've seen over the past week, but really over the past 24 to 48 hours, Trump was suspended from Twitter. And then essentially now he's been permanently taken off the platform, or he's been taken off the platform indefinitely, which means that he can't come back until they decide to. And Twitter said that this is a result of they just really weren't feeling a lot of stuff that he was posting. They can come up with whatever rationale they want to come up for, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to that they weren't feeling what he was posting. He no longer, in their opinion, adds value to their platform. So which really means that he no longer, in their opinion, adds value to their business. And many of you are going to get caught up in the emotionality of the emotionalism of this issue. And that's natural because human beings are emotional animals, right? Part of what makes us higher level animals is we have a full range of emotions, unlike other lower range animals. However, what we're going to try to do in this particular audio/video is get you to understand that a lot of the reaction to this is an emotional reaction to a fear, right? And that fear is a loss of business. Has nothing to do with free speech. It has nothing to do with politics. It is a fear of a loss of business. And we're going to go ahead and break it down and get into it. So what we're seeing right now is Trump's been taken off of Twitter. I think he's off of Facebook also. And I don't think he ever had a legitimate YouTube account. He's supposedly going to this conservative or quote unquote free speech website called Parler. And they're having some issues now because they got to get downloaded through the app markets. And they say the app markets are trying to dictate to them, or it's being communicated that they may not be allowed on the app market. So this is a very, very complex issue. And what we're going to kind of try to do is break it down and try to give you some clarity on what is going on. So let's first start with these online personalities, in quotes. And so why would they be so worried about what is going on with Trump? So you see Candace Owens, she's Twittering. This guy, Brandon Tatum, he's Twittering. The Black PhD, he's Twittering about what's going on. He's making videos about how this is the wrong thing to do. You see people like Laura Ingraham, she's also upset. So the question you want to ask is, well, why are they worried about that? That's Trump. It's not them. The reason why they're worried about it is because they're worried about their business. Okay? They're worried about their business because in their mind, if Trump can be taken off of social media, well, so can I. So their attitude is that if I get enough negative attention, then I may be taken off social media. And I did an audio earlier where I told you that I know a woman that criticized Bruno Mars, and Bruno Mars fan club came after her and they got her taken off of Twitter. So it can happen to you even if you're not a person that's controversial in the area of politics or the area of race. You can just end up on the opposite side of the wrong fan base and they will work to get you taken off Twitter. They can do the same thing on YouTube. Okay? But what they're really worried about is their business. But what they're going to do is appeal to their fan base, right? That this is going to be about freedom of speech and liberty and conservatism and yada, yada, yada. And if you're a member of their fan base, you're going to buy that. There's nothing that, I'm going to be able to tell you to make you believe that that's not what's really going on. Okay. But if you're not a member of their fan base, you can kind of understand this from a deeper issue and then kind of understand how it can affect you as you start to build out your business. Because one of the reasons why you come to this channel, one of the reasons why you rocking with me is because you want to have a better understanding of business and how you're going to actually make money. So it's not just about me making money. It's about us getting an understanding and us getting laced properly so we can all go make us some money. When you're looking at a lot of these social media people, Candace Owens, right? This guy Tatum, Laura Ingraham for some part, even though she has a terrestrial radio show, I believe she also does some television, but she also very much leverages social media. The Black PhD, right? What you have to understand is that their whole business model is dependent upon access to social. So if you look at the guy Tatum, right? He's really big on social. Okay. So the question is, without social, would he have the same amount of exposure? Because then he would be dependent upon radio and television and print to give him the exposure. Well, he's not somebody that has appeared, even though he has appeared on TV, but it's not like he's going to get a weekly show or a daily show on television, right? He can go and try to do radio, but radio's a lot harder because of the model. We're going to go into why radio is harder for these people, which is why they don't want to pursue that. It's a different model, right? He doesn't want to open up a brick and mortar business because that is a much more difficult model than just making a bunch of YouTube videos. And he's never done that, right? So this guy went from working in the police force to jumping on the internet. The black PhD went from being in academia to jumping on the internet, right? Candace Owens went from being a college student, right? And I think she worked, I believe, in finance at one time, and then she jumped on the internet. Laura Ingraham has done television and she's done radio, but she's never hit that upper echelon of conservative talk. But one of the ways in which she, engages her audience, right, around her personality brand is using the internet. And one of the reasons why they like Twitter is because Twitter allowed a lot of things to take place on their platform. You can put XXX porn on Twitter. They don't care. So Twitter gave them a lot of range, and it gave them a lot of freedom of movement and the freedom of expression that they normally wouldn't get on other platforms. You put XXX porn on Facebook and they find out about it, they're going to hammer your account. Same thing with YouTube. But you can just overtly put XXX porn on Twitter and Twitter doesn't care. Okay? So they were getting a lot of freedom on Twitter, but they need that to build out their business. See, let me explain something to you. 20 years ago, if you wanted to get known nationally, you know what you had to do? You either had to have access to one of the major media platforms or you had to travel nationally. So you had to go all over the country. That was the only way you were going to get known nationally. We now live in a world where you can get known nationally just because you got a big Twitter account, or just because you got a big YouTube account, or just because you got a big Facebook account. But nobody in your area knows you. So I know people that live in the same city with the black PhD. Nobody knows that guy in that city. He's heavy on the internet though, right? How many people know Tatum in his area for what he does, but he's heavy on the internet? Same thing with Candace Owens. So what a lot of people have done is said, you know what? I don't want to do the legwork, right? I don't mean that you have a convention once a year. I mean, I don't want to go do the legwork that it's going to take to build, right, a business in the physical world and then just use the internet as a support system. I'm going to use the internet as my total business. My whole business model is based on access to these platforms. So then if I think I can't get access to these platforms or my access to these platforms is in jeopardy, right, I got to now try to convince everybody that this is the most egregious thing in the world. Let me explain something to you. If you work for somebody, do you think you can say whatever you want to say on the job? Let's say you work for a business. Do you think you can go into that business and talk about whatever you want to talk about without any repercussion? Do you think you can do that? If you go into a movie theater, do you think you can sit inside that movie theater, right, and start yelling and screaming at people while the movie's going? Do you think you'll be allowed to do that? If you go into a grocery store, do you think that if you go into the grocery store and you start yelling obscenities at people inside the grocery store, do you think they will allow you to do that? So if they won't allow you to do that in those environments, why do you think that you can go onto Twitter, which is a corporation, right? It's a publicly owned corporation, right? Got a board of directors, got a CEO. They're responsible to shareholders. And you'll be allowed to do whatever you want to do inside their business. Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that you can go on Facebook, publicly owned company, board of directors, CEO, and they're going to allow you to do whatever you want to do inside their business? When you're on Facebook, you're inside the business of Facebook, right? And to be very real with you, this is what you don't understand, and we're going to get into this a little bit later in this discussion. As a user of Facebook, you're never more important than the people that actually spend money with Facebook. So many people that are on social media think they're more important than what they are. They don't even do business with the platform. They're just a user of the platform. And for some reason, they think they're irreplaceable. Well, Donald Trump drove a lot. He had a big Twitter audience. But you know what? Twitter's not going to go down because there's no Donald Trump. And so what they realize is that if Donald Trump can get knocked off with his 8 million followers, I definitely can get knocked off with my few followers, because I mean even less to these people than Donald Trump. So that's really what they're worried about. They realize that they're really not as important in the big scheme of things as they try to make it seem to their fan base. Right? Really not. Because if Trump can get knocked off, then they definitely can get knocked off. So the issue is that you're going inside of somebody's business when you're on these social media platforms. When you're on YouTube, you're inside Google's business. It's theirs. They own it. Why do you think you're going to be allowed to say whatever you want to say inside their business? What makes you believe that? And who has compelled you to believe this? That you can go inside Google's business or Facebook's business or Twitter's business and just say whatever you want to say? Why don't you do what we used to, talk about when I was growing up? You only speak your mind really 100% inside your own house. So are you really speaking your mind on the internet, or are you mad that they won't let you do your performance on the internet like Alex Jones, who jumps on the internet, and if you listen to him talk, he has one voice, but then when he does his show, he literally puts on this voice that he does for the show because the guy's an entertainer. So really what a lot of these people are worried about is I'm not going to be allowed to entertain on social media. Social media is not going to allow me to be an entertainment platform, because really what you are is an entertainer. Almost every black conservative is an entertainer. There's nothing conservative about them. They're entertainers, right? In this space of black conservatism, just like a rapper is an entertainer in the space of rap music, or a singer is an entertainer in the space of R&B singing. They're entertainers, and they're worried about their entertainment venue, right, which is social media, is going to be taken away from them. That's really what they're worried about. So now let's talk about what is really going on with social media compared to the real world. Social media, these platforms have created something that we were talking about in direct response marketing probably almost a decade ago. We called it internet sharecropping. And I really didn't get it at that time because I was too young and I really didn't understand it. But a lot of people that was way older than me was really expressing that this is a new form of internet sharecropping. So let me explain something to you. Direct response marketing was created through the mail, right? They can't stop us from mailing unless they can prove that we're doing something illegal via the mail. United States Post Office, United States Postal Service can't stop us from sending mail unless they can prove that we're doing something illegal in the mail, right? Because it's a organization owned by the government. It's publicly owned, right? It's owned by the taxpayers. So as a taxpayer, we have access to this particular institution and this platform, okay? But then once we started, the direct response marketers started seeing a lot of people on the internet, and because they're direct response marketers, one thing about them is they understand business models at a very, very deep level, right? That's their game, is they understand models and they understand leverage. And what they really started to get people to understand in these circles is that this is what we call internet sharecropping. So my people used to sharecrop in South Carolina. This is what sharecropping is. Somebody owns a big piece of land, massive piece of land. They don't have the capability to work it and get the best yield out of the land. They just can't. One person can't work 80 acres. It's not possible, right? So what they do is they find other people that'll work the land for them and help them get the yield. But what those people that work the land for them to help them get the yield, right? They really, in reality, get the least amount of benefit from the land. One, they don't own the land. It's not theirs. So they're working land, right, to try to get a yield off of it. They may get a percentage of it, right? They may get a percentage, but the landowner gets the biggest percentage. Here's the second downfall to sharecropping. The sharecropper is on the hook for all the upfront cost to grow the crop. So the sharecropper got to go buy the seed. The sharecropper got to go buy the plow. The sharecropper got to go buy the livestock to help plow. The sharecropper got to go buy the equipment to till the land. So they're on the hook up front for it. If the investment don't come back, you don't get a yield. Now they're in the hole for it. You know what? Landowner still owns the land. He'll get you out of there and bring in a new sharecropper. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So sharecropping is a good system for the landowner. If he can find a bunch of really, really good sharecroppers, those sharecroppers going to make him wealthy. Will some of those sharecroppers become successful? Yes. The majority will not. And the majority are going to end up in debt to that landowner. They're going to work very, very hard, and they're going to have nothing to show for it at the end of their life. That's the sharecropping business model. That's the model that my people come from. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? These internet platforms are internet sharecropping. That's what they are. You jump on YouTube. You make content on YouTube with the hope of monetizing your channel. Right? You're going to be a YouTube celebrity. You monetize your channel. You hit that success level of subs and views to monetize your channel. You know who makes the most amount of money off your YouTube channel? YouTube. When you're building out your channel, you may buy some equipment. You may buy a background. You may buy a camera, right? You're spending money up front with the hope of having the ability to monetize your channel. But even once you monetize your channel, YouTube still makes the most amount of money. When somebody's live streaming from YouTube and you donate money through that app, you know, YouTube still makes the most amount of money off that donation. You feel me? So the reason why a lot of people are on these platforms is because they think that this is the way in which they're going to become successful. And they don't really realize you're a sharecropper. Same thing on Twitter, right? You're on Twitter. You're posting content on Twitter. You're building an audience on Twitter. Twitter runs ads. Twitter's a publicly owned company. They report earnings every 90 days. You know what the biggest thing that we're looking for as investors in Twitter? How many daily active users do you have? How many daily active users did you add? What was your attrition rate of daily active users over the last quarter? And what was your ad revenue? So when you go on Twitter and you build an audience on Twitter, Twitter now leverages that audience to media buyers, tells media buyers, we have this captive audience that can be targeted via ad media. And then what they do is they sell ads to those media buyers. So you're using Twitter like Candace Owens as a way to get your name up so you can try to get you a public speaking event so you can make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. And Twitter's doing billions of dollars a quarter in revenue off your audience that they are now getting access to through media buys. I'm sorry, the media buys are now getting access to through media buys. Same thing with Donald Trump. He was a blessing to Twitter. Why? He had 8 million people following him. Those 8 million people are getting marketed to by media buyers who want access to that audience. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So many people are jumping on social media, right? And they're involved really in online sharecropping because you don't own the platform, which is if I'm a sharecropper and the person I'm sharecropping for doesn't like how I'm acting, he could tell me, David, you can't live on my land anymore. Because as a sharecropper, you live on the same land that you're sharecropping. He could tell me, David, you can't live here anymore. That's the end of me living on that land. There's nobody I can run to. It wasn't my land to begin with in the first place. So when you're on a corporation's online entity, it's not yours. When you have your business or your app inside a corporation's marketplace, it's not your marketplace, it's their marketplace. So of course they can tell you, you can't sell here. It's not this liberals are pushing against us. No. See, this is what's interesting about Anglo-Americans. Black people I exclude them because I know half of them don't have a clue in the first place. Some of them have a clue, but they're taking an oath to the Anglo-American system to continue to deceive black people. That's why they get on the internet and they say some of the stuff they say. They're oath takers. So I understand that. So I don't even trip on it because I know they're not going to violate their oath. What's interesting is that Anglo-Americans live in a society that's been built by people, right, that created markets and dominated the market and then told people and dictated to people how the situation was going to go. And it's cool with them as long as they don't get affected personally. But then when they get affected personally, all of a sudden it's the worst thing in the world. Well, you know what? That's how you have everything in this world. If this type of model and this type of structure didn't work, you wouldn't have nothing. But all of a sudden, when it comes and touches you personally or touches somebody that you may have an affinity for, it's the worst thing in the world. So Google or Apple telling people you can't exist inside the market that we've created, right, is no different than the United States telling North Korea, because we don't like some of your policies, we're going to do economic sanctions and essentially try to shut you out of the market of the world. You can't sell the goods that you produce. We're not going to let you into the world markets. Or doing the same thing to Iraq to say Saddam Hussein, because we don't like the fact that you're not going to do what we tell you to do anymore. You cannot sell your oil on the world market. We're going to do sanctions to try to cut you out of the market and to try to impair you economically. That's cool. That's all right. But then when it comes to somebody that you got an affinity for, or it comes to yourself, right? It's the worst thing in the world. It's liberals, it's anti-freedom of speech, it's yada, yada, yada. But you support a government that does the same thing. So the question is what you really standing on. So when there's other people It's all right when it's a federal government doing it against some people that you've been programmed to believe they're the worst people in the world. That's all right. But when it comes to somebody that you like, now it's his worst thing. We lose in the country. It's socialism, yada, yada, yada. Right? You're double-minded. And a double-minded person, right, is going to have a lot of issues. They confused in all of their ways. So this is what's going on. It's online sharecropping. We're all engaged in it. But I know I'm engaged in it. I'm not under this idea that I own something on social media. I've been kicked off social media platforms. I had to figure out a way to get myself back on. I had to figure out a way to create redundancy plans. But my whole business is not based on I got to jump on the internet. Right? I don't have to jump on the internet to make money. I go trade to make me some money. So if they ban me from all these internet platforms, I may be upset, but I'm still going to make me some money. I don't need to do eight YouTube videos every day to try to drive somebody to a website. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do 20 YouTube videos a day to try to sell my merch. Right? If I really want to sell merch, I'll go run ads. That's the difference between me and a lot of these people. I'll go get me a burner Facebook account and go run ads. Because I know how to do that. I know the black hat stuff. I'm not a black hat guy, but I know how to get busy in that lane. Right? So if I really need to do that, I'll do that. I know the Teespring game. Many of these people want to try to do everything for free. They love the free traffic from the internet. But you know what? That free traffic comes with a price. That free traffic comes with rules and regulations that you're going to have to adhere to, or else you're not going to get access to that free traffic. So if you really want the traffic, right, go buy it. Get off the internet, hire yourself a media buyer, and have them send traffic to you at a cost. But see, you can't do that because your business, the way it's modeled and the way your metrics are modeled inside your business, you can't afford to pay for traffic. You need the free traffic. So you got to be on social media doing what you do. And so now when you see Trump get knocked off, you worry that they're going to come attack your platform. Know what you're involved in at all times. If you're sharecropping on the internet, that's cool. Do what you do, but know you're sharecropping. Know it. If you're a fan of somebody who's sharecropping on the internet, that's cool, but know that they're sharecropping. Alex Jones was sharecropping on YouTube. When YouTube got tired of him, they got him off of there. He didn't need YouTube. Alex Jones was big before YouTube even became big. He already was a multimillionaire before YouTube became the place to be. So he just fell back to what he was already doing. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? If you're emailing people, that's their platform, unless you got your own self-hosted servers, which most people have no idea how to do. Even if you have your own self-hosted servers, right? The email providers can ban you. You can be banned from emailing via Google, which is the biggest email provider I know in the world. They can ban you. So now you got to try to go to a secondary email platform. But now you got to start worrying about delivery rates, because the reason why Google is who they are is because they have very, very high delivery rates. Now, they're not the only email platform. But even if you go to another one, the question is, how do you access people with Gmail accounts if Google won't allow you to email? And you may say Google can't do that. Yes, they can. They have ways of figuring that out, and they can do it because they don't want you involved with their business. So you got to realize is that you've been brought into a system, right, where you've been taught to be a sharecropper. Even the people that think they got so much of a business, they pro-business, you need to get your own business, you need to be an entrepreneur, they're sharecropping in somebody else's business. You don't have your own media if you're leveraging somebody else's platform to put on your media. You don't have a black media if you're leveraging Anglo-Saxons' media platforms to put your show on. You don't have a conservative media if you're saying that Facebook and Twitter and all of this stuff are controlled by liberals, but I got to get on their platform to do a conservative show. You don't have conservative media. You don't have that. So either you lying to yourself or you lying to your audience, and if it's profitable for you, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not mad at you. But this is why these people are so upset, because they realize that they can be shut out. But any of us can be shut out. I know people that get their Facebook page banned for doing nothing. It happens. Right? It happens. I know people that have gotten their YouTube channel taken down for doing nothing. It was very difficult for them to get it back. It happens. But when you decide to sharecrop on the internet, you got to understand you own nothing, you're in control of nothing, and you only exist as long as the person that has ownership decides for you to exist. And the people that promote ownership, they should know that better than everybody else. So the problem is, if you believe that, they go build your own. Right? Farrakhan and people that's fans of the Nation of Islam getting upset over Farrakhan getting knocked off whatever social media platform. Well, you didn't see that coming? You didn't think that was going to happen? You listen to Farrakhan every day. You a follower and a student of Farrakhan, but you didn't see that happening. I mean, y'all people can't be serious. So then they need to build their own media platform 100% independent, right? So they don't have to worry about somebody deciding that they don't like their content. And you may have to go back to the old school. Malcolm built thousands, not thousands. Okay, let me retract that statement. Malcolm built, right, a large amount of temples for the Nation of Islam. He had no social media. He had no email. Had no YouTube, right? And he didn't do it off TV. Martin Luther King had a massive movement. No social media. No YouTube. No email. So it can be done. You just got to get out there in the streets and really put your toes on the pavement, which is what a lot of y'all are scared to do. See, you're really scared to do that. You're really scared to put your toes on the pavement. And that's what it takes. So because you're scared to put your toes on the pavement and you're scared to meet people person to person and you live inside cities and nobody in the city knows you because you're in the house making 30 videos a day, that's why you're worried about getting taken off the internet, because that's your backbone. The internet is your backbone. You can't stand up without the internet. You never could.